We should be live. So it says go live. All right. I want to, how's everybody doing? So I'm just going to check real quick and make sure we're live on our end. And it might have a sound. So I'm just going to check real quick and make sure we're live on our end. All right. Cool beans. We are live. Hopefully people will join us. All right. So if you guys, somebody said waiting for Devon, LOL. Okay, so I guess somebody's waiting. Hopefully, jump on to the live. But how you guys doing today? It is Sunday. We are December 10th, Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And first, I'm going to introduce myself and have my guest introduce herself as well. My name is Devon Clark. I am a realtor, nationally licensed realtor. I can help you with buying and selling in the state of Georgia only. However, I can refer you out nationwide, worldwide, to anyone who has a real estate license around the world. And this is my guest.
Hi, everybody. I'm Raven. That was a great introduction. I feel like I can't compete with that. I'm Raven. I am a new construction agent. I'm actually licensed in Alabama and Georgia. So I can help in both states. And just like Devon said, definitely refer you out to anybody in the nation here. If you're looking to maybe relocate outside of Georgia, we're here to help.
Yes. And so I reached out to Raven initially because everybody kept reaching out to me in regards to new construction sales, and when it comes to purchasing a new construction and what we're going through currently in this housing market. People are realizing that there's less homes going up for sale as far as the resale side, but there are a lot of new construction homes being built, and they want to know what is the difference between a resale and a new construction. So I figured, why not ask a person that is literally a new construction sales agent. She's on site down here in the state of Georgia. She is doing her thing. So I figured, why not reach out to Raven. I had the pleasure of meeting her at my brokerage, and I loved her energy. I loved what she was talking about. So I figured, why not give you guys this knowledge, because a lot of people don't understand ideally how new construction works. So why not somebody that knows about it? So the first question, we were actually talking offline prior to getting on. So the first question, I guess I'll ask her so we can continue the conversation. And I know it might seem redundant to kind of talk about it again, but tell us a little bit about yourself, Raven. When did you get started in real estate? And how did you make your way to new construction?
Yes. First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to even be on your platform today. But look, my story. I literally came home from school, and I was like, what am I gonna do? And just kind of like how we were talking, my dad owns a brokerage locally here in Georgia, and I was like, okay, I gotta just go to real estate school. So I went to school, got my license literally like the week of my birthday, and I didn't do anything the year 2016, and I didn't do anything the year 2017. I was like, well, do I want to pay my bills, or do I just want to, kind of jump out off the ledge? So what I decided to do is, I was like, maybe my dad suggested that I actually apply to new construction. He said it would be a great way to kind of just get my feet wet, and truly just understand the process of even just purchasing a home. And so that's what I did. I applied, and I ended up, my very first gig was new construction, and I actually started out as a closing coordinator. So as a closing coordinator, I actually worked or managed like the loan side, not necessarily as a loan officer or working for the mortgage company or the bank, but just more so gauging the loans, making sure or ensuring that, you know, each house was meeting the target date in regards to the loan, in regards to the buyer, based on where we are in construction. So I've been doing new construction since 2018, and I'm currently with Liberty Communities, and we are currently in the Southeast region. So currently in Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina.
And so when it comes to, so this is something that I don't know about, so that's why we have Raven. When you said you were on the, what did you say, the loan part?
Yes, so I was a closing coordinator.
So tell us about being a closing coordinator. As far as how does that work when it comes to, you say, like the loans with the homes and everything?
Yeah, so being a closing coordinator, for me, I felt like that was a great introduction for me, I don't know, maybe you could kind of chime in here. Like when I first got into real estate, I felt like I wasn't as knowledgeable maybe as the person that maybe got their license the month before, or maybe even a year before, or even just what we would consider like the OGs,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
I didn't feel like I could compare, to the wealth of knowledge or wisdom that they held. So being a closing coordinator basically groomed me to understand the loan side. When we go through real estate school, it's only maybe 2 chapters where we learn loans. And honestly, that's not our job. But I also feel like that's a great place to be educated as a realtor, because that's half the job, right? Not only
Mhm.
finding the house, but also understanding where your client's buying power is.
Mhm.
So a closing coordinator basically literally Monday through Friday, I would touch base with everybody in my pipeline. And when I say pipeline, my previous new construction job, I managed the entire west side of Georgia. So I'm talking from as far north as Chatsworth, which is like 20 minutes from the state line, to as far, I think we did as far south as Hogansville, the Grange area. So like 30 minutes outside of Alabama going down 85.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're managing a pipeline easily of 50 customers. And I'm responsible for getting loan updates with all 50 plus customers, to keep track of where, like I said, where we are in the loan, ensuring the loan officer is on track to complete the home by the date that's on that contract.
Mhm.
So I had to learn how to be knowledgeable and asking the right questions, because when I first started, all I know is CTC. All I know is I need to clear the close, but I also have to understand there's a process behind that, and sometimes it's not as easy as those 30 traditional 21 to maybe 30 days that resale buyer, or you have an existing home, that timeline in which you're under contract is a
Mhm.
little bit longer in new construction because we may be building the home.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about, I know I'm kind of, remember you guys, if you're joining us live, I see people coming in, coming out. If you're joining us, please put your questions inside the comments. If you have any questions, Raven is here to answer them. And if
Yes.
also, if you did not catch us live and you're watching us back on a replay, please put any questions below and I'll make sure to send them over to Raven and hopefully she can answer them. So if you
Yes.
have any questions, but let's kind of dive into, as you was talking about, I guess I'll say the first steps of new construction, because um, we do know that typically the, I guess is it the developer, I believe. I guess he buys the land and then the builder comes.
Mm-hmm.
How does that kind of work? Does the developer develop that land and does the builder then build upon that, or?
So there's a lot of stuff like on the back end as far as like the agent goes, we don't see.
Okay.
I will speak for Liberty. When you do come on board, they do take you to each department, so you kind of understand like what goes on behind the scenes. So it really just depends, right? Because a lot of times, as a new construction agent, we may not be hired within the builder.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, we may broker out and ask Metro brokers, hey, you have a team that can oversee these homes. But specifically for Liberty, sometimes we partner with the developers even after. We've even purchased those lots, and it's based maybe on the contract that the developer comes in and clears those lots for us. So I mean, it just really depends on maybe the builder's process. Um, for me, I've come into neighborhoods where it was already developed at times. I've come into communities where we're starting phase two. So technically, maybe it's already been developed,
Okay.
right? And it's just a matter of maybe clearing the lots a little bit more, like the streets are in, the sewers are in. Maybe we just got to take the trees off the lots.
Okay.
Um, there's been times I've watched the trees and the roads and everything be put in, still with the obligation to sell. So a lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
buying homes blind. So it really depends, but kind of getting back to the initial process is a little bit similar or very similar to how you would start off with the resale, right? I do recommend using a realtor or a real estate agent to guide you. And with that being said, you would start off, hey, I'm looking to purchase a home. What does that look like? And it's my obligation as a realtor to guide you through that process. And the first step, main step, is going to be just talking to that loan officer. Um, Obviously, with new construction, we do have preferred lenders, maybe outside of, hey, Devon, you have a client, Becky, and Becky wants to buy a house. Before we even have the discussion of maybe location or anything to that extent, you need to figure out how much is her buying power, how much house she can purchase. Before you even bring her to my neighborhood, you have to figure out what that price point is. And the same thing goes for me. Like if somebody walks in with no agent, hey, you're asking questions. I understand that maybe this is your first rodeo. Let's figure out, before I even show you the house, what's your buying power? How much house can you purchase? And I feel like that's the most important step. Nobody wants to fall in love with something they can't afford, right? We can always, put it on our vision board that that's something that we can work up to. But let's just figure out where you can start before we just go showing that $500,000 house, $1 million house.
So as far as so I guess in regards to prices and everything, we'll kind of dive into this whole thing that I was asking you before in regards to the earnest money. So if people don't know, when you purchase a house, as far as on a resale and then a new construction, and you put down the earnest money deposit, which is almost like a good faith deposit, basically signifying that you are committed to buying this house, X, Y, and Z. And when it comes to a resale, if people don't know what a resale is, that's a house that's already been built for numerous years and someone is just reselling the house. And so typically it's a 1 to 3% earnest money deposit. However, when you come into a new construction, which I learned from you guys, is that typically it's not the same way if you're not using your lender, your preferred lender. So dive into a little bit more information in regards to that earnest money deposit.
Perks. There are perks. There are perks to taking advantage of new construction in this times. And what I've always seen just across the board is whenever you have an opportunity, right? Like nobody can force your hand or tie your hands behind your back and say you have to use this realtor or you have to use this lender, right? But there are incentives. So we will incentivize you to maybe utilize our lenders. And there's a perk behind that. Any time you go under contract, like you say, you have to show good faith. Our earnest money with Liberty Communities, we are running a promotion where it's currently $500. Traditionally, it's only $2,500. Now, a traditional single family home, we just found out the median is around like 390. It was like 395. I think it just dropped, but maybe around summer is about 425. That we saying 1%, that's $4,000 that you have to come out of pocket for, right? And in traditional resale, you go through that contingency period. If we get out of that period at any time after those 7, 10, 14 days, your earnest money is at risk. If things go awry, but taking advantage of builder incentives, it kind of gives you a little leeway. With just $500, it takes that house off the market. Using our lenders, if let's just say today's Monday, right? And the loan officer has asked you for some information to verify anything that they need to verify, some items in your loan, right? If it takes you 2 weeks, right? Like we have a meeting every single week, the same way I did as a closing coordinator. Liberty Communities has meetings every single week with these loan officers. So we'll know if there's delays caused on the buyer's end or if there's any delays maybe caused on the loan officer's end. If there's delays caused on a loan officer ends or if they fell short and closing goes beyond that close date, there's a little leeway there, right? Let's say you use a lender that maybe Devon brings and maybe he has great lenders, y'all. But let's just say the lender falls short. Unfortunately, there's a little bit more money that you would have to bring up front if you decide to use a lender that maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable with, and that's okay. However, there's a little risk behind that. You do have to come up or out of pocket a little bit more money. With Liberty Communities, it is $10,000 that you would have to come out of pocket for in regards to earnest money to hold that home and take it off the market. And like I said, if the lender goes just one day beyond that, right, you can either be charged $150 a day because of your lender's mistakes, or contract could simply be canceled. We wouldn't do that, but I've been in situations where it's happened with new construction, and when you sign that contract, they're going off that contract. You know, if you don't meet these deadlines, like you're obligated to do it contractually. But saying that to say there's a little bit more of a risk when you don't use builder preferred lenders, but there's also lots of perks behind it too, right? Not only do you get a lesser earnest money, but a lot of times you'll see builders offering seller concessions or closing costs, right? That closing cost, depending on the product that you're looking for, you could put that money towards buying your rate down. Say the rate is 7.5, sometimes it's just a point to buy down the rate. We just gave you closing costs to buy your rate down a whole nother point, right? Or let's say you got $25,000, which is your total cash to close, including your down payment and your closing costs. Let's say we're giving 5,000, but we're really giving 10. We're giving $10,000. That's $10,000 less that you have to come out of pocket for. And let's keep in mind, you get credit as long as your home appraises, let's say options and upgrades. But that earnest money that you gave me, $500 or $2,500, you get credit for that at the table. So just keep in mind, there's incentives. There's sometimes less out of pocket up front, which is great. You know, if this is maybe your first home, you don't want to come out of pocket. It's just your second or third home. Like, who wants to just give away money if you don't have to? So, I mean, builders today, they're buying your rate down permanently, y'all, fixed for the entire term of the loans. They are literally buying your rate down. I've seen 4.99s. I've seen 5.49s. I've seen, we're offering a 5.99 fixed for 30 years on top of the $10,000. And you only got to put $500 down. Like, it's unheard of, the perks that new construction is offering since the pandemic. It's just been a way to go since what, 2020?
In 2020.
Yeah.
Jaren said, hello, how you doing, Jaren? We have a question here from one of my colleagues, Key. She said, what are your thoughts about where the homes are pre-sold and there are no model homes? Am I reading that right? The builders that requires a construction to be to a permanent loan for such homes seems like a risk.
I'll be honest with you, and I hope I'm understanding this question correctly. So stop me in the middle if I'm not.
I'm gonna say what? Right? Did I say it right? What are your thoughts? Yeah. Okay.
Pre-sold and no model homes. I was in that situation. So I understand, you know, the concern that comes behind, you know, not having a model home or just selling something from dirt. Like, I have the same reservations trying to sell a unseen product, right? But I do believe that sometimes we do have to maybe go the extra mile. Full transparency, right? My current community, I've been there a year. We literally sold or closed on the very first home in December 2022. I want to say New Year, the day before, like New Year's Eve. I sat in my car from July to February. You get what I'm saying?
You just sat in your car, there was nothing there?
I had no model home. I literally watched my neighborhood be built, right? And I'm saying that to say I had clients meet me hour plus away just to see a similar product. So it just kind of gives your buyer a little extra security there. Like, hey, this is the product that this builder is offering. Let's at least go see what that finished product looks like, right? It may not be, you know, nearby, but it's in a sister community. It's by the same builder. So I would recommend, sometimes it does take maybe going the extra mile to go see other just sister communities by the builder to see the finished product. Sometimes it may even require not only going to that community seeing their model home, but hey, go walk some of the unfinished product, right? Let's say, hey, can I see a different model that's maybe, you know, that's not just the model home, right? You just want to see something that's being built just to see the builder's quality. So that is a recommendation I would make. Sometimes just, I mean, we've drove to Hampton and from Villa Rica, literally, somebody trailed me from my Villa Rica neighborhood to Hampton, Georgia, just to go see a similar product. So Definitely a recommendation of mine, a sister community.
And that is good advice. Like he said, very good. Seeing a similar product will give me more confidence. And that is that
Mm-hmm.
you guys have to be open to traveling just to see the product. If you are that person that needs to see something, then you should be open to traveling. Like Raven said, they traveled left from Villa Rica all the way to Hampton just to see a similar product, so you know what it looks like, what it could, or what it could possibly look like, or it's always great to do that. So if you guys are just joining us now, like I said, I'm here with Raven. She is a new construction sales agent with Liberty Homes in the Villa Rica area in Georgia. So if you are looking for something in the area, please head over there and check her out. But we're having a discussion around new construction because a lot of people have reached out to me personally about new construction as a way to go now, because there are so many great incentives now. So people have been like, well, I need to know more about it. So we
Yeah.
are conversation about it tonight. So let's kind of dive into, now that which is great that Key kind of got us on this topic in
Yeah.
regards to like the home, like the pre-sold homes and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive into now like custom versus spec, because a
Yeah.
lot of builders, or some of them, are kind of doing more spec homes because of the limit of supply and demand, like the supply and demand chain and all that stuff there, and they want to just put the homes up so people can actually have somewhere to go when they after
Mm-hmm.
certain amount of months. So can you
Yeah.
tell us about a little bit about like the difference between spec and custom?
Yeah. One thing I can say, the pandemic, I think, taught everybody a lesson, literally how to just like maneuver on a drop of a dime. Saying that to say, during the pandemic, you would notice that there's favorable like move-in ready homes, right? Like you could go to new construction and you have the ability to close in, maybe 30 to 60 days. I know when we were during the pandemic, because of supply chain issues, we would not release the home, so the buyer wouldn't accrue like any delays, but we would not release the home for sale, for like a buyer to, be able to select this floor plan on this lot until we've actually started the home. Even then, the house is framed. So basically, a spec product is when a buyer could come in and the builder has basically already pre-selected the finishes. You can basically purchase the home at a certain stage of construction. At that stage, it's usually like minor finishes, maybe at the stage of where you can choose like the flooring, and maybe some other finishes, but like color schemes and cabinet colors and things of that have been selected for you. But it's basically a house that's move-in ready, but it's still brand spanking new. Now, currently, last year, what happened? Rates went up.
Right.
Rates went up last year, right after the summer, and everybody was like, whoa. And builders had that same reaction or that same fear. So the concern was, okay, is building going to slow down, or is purchasing a home going to slow down? Is the market going to slow down? And I think everybody felt it. So what happened was builders simply went from having a lot of standing inventory to actually allowing buyers to come in and pre-select their finishes, down to picking what floor plan you want, where you want it in the community, what color, the outside, the inside, just basically customizing your home. But as a builder, you do have a semi-custom builder, and then you have a true custom builder. A lot of the builders that you see that are like nationwide, whether it's Liberty Communities, whether it's DR Horton, Century Communities, Curly, all of them, the majority of those builders or nationwide builders are semi-custom, to where we already have the floor plans and we have any modifications that can be made already planned out. However, we allow you to make those changes, but to a T. Like, we can't move this wall like 3 feet, and we can't, like, you can't bring your own toilet in because you rather your toilet be like 20 feet high, off the ground. So, for the most part, builders have certain finishes, options, upgrade, or even packages that you can select from. But today, going new construction, you are more afforded the opportunity to really build your house from the dirt. which is kind of like a plus, you right? Like you get to say, hey, y'all like those cabinets over there. I picked those, so you're able to really personalize your home more so with new construction than maybe you felt in the past 2-3 years.
Let's see, we have a question here with James. He said, is it cheaper to buy land and build a home than to buy in a new construction development?
Okay. Let me say this. I don't even know if I should open this can of worms. So, y'all, I promise you, as real estate agents and being in this game since 2016, I learned something new every day. And I'm saying that to say there are ways where it can be affordable to develop or do your own new build. But if you want me to be fully transparent, that's a process, right? Like it's easier for us to go in and be like, oh, the wall's not right. Now somebody has to come in and move that over. Also understand when you're doing your own land. I just talked to a developer. He just told me developing has maybe tripled or quadrupled in the past year. It went from developing a lot that's only maybe $5,000 to now it being $35,000, right? And you have to take into account that difference, like that's coming out of your pockets or it's something you have to pay back to the bank. So it's really hard for me to say. I would say, if you're looking to get into it, just look for any opportunities where you have less out of pocket as possible. Do as much research as you can on all of your vendors, because your vendors are your livelihood. They're going to determine if there's any modifications you have to make. Say something wasn't correct during that inspection, you have to get that done before the city will allow you to go to the next phase, right? And that's the same thing for new construction. If you don't pass that inspection, that vendor has to come back, address that issue before we can move on to the next process in building a home. So do your research with vendors, do your research with products, loan products, and do your research with the area as well. I kind of want to go back to spec and pre-sales because it's another reason why builders kind of are shying away from just building homes with no one under contract for it, right? Let's just say y'all go out of town for 3 months for the summer. Your mortgage still due, right? Mm-hmm. That power bill still due. That internet bill is still due. The same thing happens for builders. The longer that house sits on the market, we still have to pay those bills. You wouldn't want to pay your bills if you know you're not going to live there for a year. Why not rent it out, right? And get your money's worth. So that kind of goes back to, hey, if you don't do your market research, it's a potential that your house may sit on the market a little bit longer. Maybe you built too big of a house for the area in which it's in. So James, I would recommend, even on top of researching your vendors in your area, get a real estate agent, right? Like, we have access to all these services that we pay for yearly to advise you if you decide to build your own product where.
And like Key said, she said, it's unaffordable being inexperienced. That's true.
Yeah.
And not having a strong team. So again, if you guys are just joining us, my name is Devon Clark. I'm joined by Raven Hiram. Am I saying it right? Is it Hiram?
Yeah, like the city. Okay. So they call me Bird City on the low.
Okay. And she is a new sales construction agent. Oh, I feel like I'm always saying it wrong, but I know that's right.
It's okay. I'm a new home agent. I'm a new home sales guy. I'm new everything.
Like, she's not new to the business, but she sells new construction. So I need to reword it differently. But again, we're here talking about new construction. If you guys had interest in purchasing anything new construction, if you have questions, please put them inside the comments. If you're joining us live, we're going to be here for about maybe another 20-30 minutes if she's okay with that. We're going to try to go to 7:00 p.m. And if you have questions, put them in the comments. And if you're watching the replay, put those questions inside the comments as well. And then, like I said, I will reach out to Raven, and if she's available to answer the questions, I will give her to you guys, and you guys can connect and she can answer the questions. But let's kind of dive. So I heard you talk about this, and I know we discussed some things prior to coming on live. But now that you said this question, now I kind of want to ask you, in regards to, because you said the whole thing of like getting someone to rent the home and everything out. So some people might not know this, but I know in some new construction communities they do allow for rental properties. So do you guys allow for that? Is there a cap? Because I know some communities they do cap it. They say like,
Yeah.
so what about you guys in regards to, or is it just all sales?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I hate this. It depends. And I only say that because sometimes you may experience where a builder goes into an established neighborhood, right? I'm in that situation. I'm in an established neighborhood. That simply means that there are existing homes, and the builder goes into the neighborhood and maybe purchases the remaining lots and will build a product. So if there's a neighborhood like that existing community where the builder goes in, he has like one of two options. You can you can either number one, you can opt to be part of the HOA. Our situation, we had to be voted in. Or number two, you can either create your own HOA, right? Establish a new HOA, kind of separating yourself from the other community, or you could opt out, if I haven't said that already. So opt in, opt out, or create your own. My community, we opted, or we were voted in to the current HOA. And with that, uh, just combing through their covenants and their bylaws, there are no restrictions. Now, I have been part of a community where there have been restrictions. There's maybe a 10 or 20% cap. And so as an investor, I always recommend, even if you're not, and I mean, hey, everybody's an investor when it comes into real estate, whether it's for the less than or whether it's for yourself, right? But when you go into these neighborhoods, even if before you even sign a contract, like I'm sending out what your warranty booklet, so what's covered when you're purchasing this home, and the things that you can and cannot do in regards to the neighborhood. So you'll have those covenants up front. So it just kind of depends. You just have to ask that information up front. Those are some of the questions or some of the perks of having a realtor, because they know to ask, hey, are there any rental restrictions? And will I be allowed, you know what I'm saying, by the time I close in this home to be able to rent? Because sometimes you can, but you never know what everybody else's intentions are as far as your neighbors go. You don't know if they tend to rent either.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna hit this right up on the screen real quick. Then I'm gonna go back to that because I had
Okay.
a thing going with that rental thing. James said, "Are tiny homes overpriced? And if so, why?"
I don't have any experience in tiny homes. I know a lot of people are purchasing or building tiny homes. I have a aunt, she's building tiny homes in Macon. I just feel like it depends on the area. You always have to consider, everybody heard about the tiny homes in South Fulton, here in Georgia. Locally, I mean, no, I've never heard of it. A tiny home like subdivision neighborhood where it's entirely tiny homes. I think you have to take into account just your area, just doing your research, figuring out what the average sales price of the average square footage of the home. You just have to do your research. It may be overpriced for the area, or it may not be.
And so to get back to the question in regards to what you were talking about as far as when we were touching on rentals.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a person reach out to me in regards to renting, and the TikTok and the Instagram, and it shows the glorious life of
Yeah.
becoming the best investor you can be on the planet without
Yeah.
actually giving you step by step by step by step. And so I was telling my one friend, his whole goal was that he wanted to buy a home and then do like a Airbnb type of short rental. But I was telling him, I was like, with HOAs, typically most of them won't allow those. Like you might get some that will,
Short-term rentals,
but
yeah.
so what's the difference, I guess, between like short term and long term? Because when I say it, people
Yeah.
don't believe me, but if they hear it from somebody else, maybe they'll
Yeah.
understand the difference. And
I
like,
mean, yeah, I mean, since Airbnbs, like HOAs are cutting down. I mean, you have some HOAs where, those presidents are real active, and then you have some where they're a little bit lax. So some have been updating covenants and bylaws where short-term rentals are just totally restricted. And you may have to help me out with this one, but my understanding of a short-term rental would be anything under, honestly, a year. I would maybe even say 6 months.
Mhm.
Maybe right there, that 6 month mark could be considered a short term. But anything where I'm not signing over that anything over a year to under a year, excuse me, will be short term.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's always good for people to notice because, like I said, there's so many things online nowadays as far as investors coming online or people talking about how they made these strategic moves, especially in like even in new construction communities. They like, I just went to a new construction and I bought 5 homes that are rentals and I'm flipping them and I'm doing X, Y, and Z. But people are not
Yeah,
like all the extra stuff that's on it because of course we only have a limited time to show what we're doing on social
yeah.
media. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. But now let's kind of
I do, if you don't mind, I
no,
kind of
go
want to go
ahead.
back to this. So, one thing I will say is short term rentals, I mean, I feel like they're just hard, right? That's kind of like Turo. Like you, every time you get the car back, you got to take it for a wash. You got to get it cleaned inside and out. And that's going to be the same experience that you have with Airbnbs. Like if you're not consistently booked, right? Like, there's expenses that you have to pay and there's a cleaning fee. Like that stuff can get expensive if the business isn't consistent. But just to touch base on long-term rentals, with new construction, as long as the mortgage makes sense, I think it's great opportunity for long-term rentals if you're looking as an investor to purchase a home. And I simply say that is if you can get into the right price point, into the right product, um, it's amazing. Let me tell you why. Because that first year, like we have a 1 year warranty where we'll come in and we'll address, a lot of the cosmetic things to touch up. We also have a 2 year warranty. So you have a warranty for anything plumbing or any electrical issues that you may have. And then you have a 10-year structural warranty. So, and you have a portal. So if you want to give your renter access to that portal to just upload any issues that they may be experiencing while they're renting, like that kind of takes a load off of you, right? You're not having to worry about, oh, like when's the last time I serviced this AC unit or changed the filter, or dang, it's about that time to change the oven out, or is there something wrong with the refrigerator? So with the house being brand new, I'm not saying that you won't run into anything. It's a house that nobody's ever lived in. So this thing's still trying to learn how to run. But I'm saying that to say there's less that you have to worry about. Like cosmetic, hey, we give you a little gallon of paint. We got you for the first year. Just leave that for your renter. But for the most part, you're not having to go in and do too much or maintain or manage much within at least those first like 2 to 5 years.
That's good. So Key has a question, and then
Talk to me, Key.
I'm gonna dive into like we were talking about as far as taxes. How do you guys go about estimating taxes, preferably? So
Yeah.
how does one understand the bylaws and covenants? Those damn things are lengthy and hard to understand.
They are so lengthy, girl. Mine is 25 pages, and guess what I did? I read it. Only because, like, it could be the smallest things, y'all. If you want a fence, right? Like the fence can only be within a certain material. It has to be a certain height. It has to go back on the house or start on the house at a certain point. So it's important to honestly comb through them. It's a one and done type of thing, right? Like once you've kind of like a book, once you read it, highlight it, take the important stuff out that you know is pertinent to you and maybe your lifestyle. If you like to go to the woods and you're going to purchase a camper in 2 years, figure out if you can have such a large item parked in the driveway or on the side of the street, or does it have to be behind the house? Do you need to add an extra driveway? Yeah, but also, to interpret things, we always recommend what? An attorney, or just calling the HOA company, or the CMA, excuse me, the management company right then and there, and ask them questions. If maybe there's something you don't understand, hey, those enforcers are the perfect people to speak with. They're the ones that kind of created these guidelines and are there to enforce them. So I will recommend reading them. Unfortunately, I know they're linky, but read them, read the important topics, especially things that align with your lifestyle. And if there's maybe something you don't understand, reach out to an attorney, a real estate agent that may be on site that can help bridge that understanding, or just reaching out directly to the Community Management Association.
She said those folks don't read.
They
Folks don't.
because I mean, let's be honest. Like, it's been a year since I read them. Somebody would ask me, I'll be like, I don't remember. Give me a couple of hours, but I'll be able to get an answer for you somehow.
So when it comes to, so again, if you guys, I'm gonna try to reiterate it so people know. If you guys just joined us, my name is Devon Clark. I'm a licensed realtor. I'm here with Raven Hiram. She is also a licensed realtor as well in the state of Georgia and Alabama. She's in two. And we're talking about new construction. She is a agent over a new construction community. So we just diving into questions around that. I feel like we kind of dived off topic with tiny homes and everything or whatever.
I know.
I want to dive back in regards to more information around new construction that you could possibly give people.
Yeah.
Take away. So let us know anything that you find might be very, I guess, worth a person trying to kind of buy a new construction home.
Yeah. I say new construction is a great option, right? And it all just depends on your purchasing power. Just for the past 3 years, especially like right before COVID, new construction has been a great option to where, through my experience, you have less competition, right? Like, it's first come, first serve. Right? There's incentives behind it. So instead of negotiating, always having to negotiate what incentives that you may need for your buyer or for yourself, right? You know upfront what the seller is offering, because it's always going to be incentives for using our lenders. So perks with incentives. And y'all, when I say if you know that you're looking to purchase a home, you want to start ahead, right? So with that, when you start ahead or you start early, you get in early. When you're able to get into these new construction communities early, y'all, it is the easiest way to build equity. You literally don't even have to wait a year. Builders go up on prices every couple of sales, every couple of phases. It could be supply chain issues. Like, I had a buyer, you can still be under contract and be accruing equity literally before you even close. So it's the easiest way to build equity. The opportunity for incentive is there, so less out of pocket. And then you're not inheriting anybody else's problems. And if there are any issues, like, you literally have a warranty. You don't have to purchase a warranty. It comes with the house. So less maintenance for you within those first 5, honestly, to 10 years. You're not replacing nothing. It should be small cosmetic items that you're addressing. So those are my 3 main reasons for purchasing. And also, not to take away the fact that there are down payment assistance programs that allow you to be able to afford a new construction home with less out of pocket. Whether you're a veteran, the same that you could do with resale, you don't have a down payment, depending on where that new construction is located, right? In Villa Rica, we're considered USDA approved. So with USDA, that's another down payment assistance where it's less out of pocket. Or even just taking advantage of Divvy, right? Like, going through certain programs of Divvy, NACA, I don't even know the other one, but just the opportunities where maybe you don't feel like you're at a stage where you're ready to purchase a new home. Guess what? That company can purchase it for you, where you could eventually be the owner of that home. It's like lease to own, right? Mm-hmm. So there's opportunities for you to get into a new home where maybe you didn't think that you could. There's programs out there, like I said, just based on the city. So there's ample opportunity and time to get in new homes if you didn't think it was there. It's you're capable, okay? I literally had a class today with USDA Direct. Buy it when it's dirt, y'all. It's seriously, like, I'm gonna just say this. We went, as a builder, we went up $30,000 for my basement, right?
Wow.
My buyer was under contract and had equity of already $10,000, right? Before, like, when she went under contract initially. because we did a price increase the next day.
Yeah.
But to say like in a month, girl, your house ain't even went vertical yet, and you have what, $40,000 of equity? Like, that's amazing. So imagine where she's gonna be, and we're only halfway through when the neighborhood is complete. Right. And sometimes if you think about it, new construction sets the tone for even resales in the area. So guess what's going to happen? Like when the average price of a home goes up, people eventually start to move out that way. Right. And now that area gets more expensive, and everything else around it begins to grow and develop. And now the other new homes that are built a year down the road are even more expensive. Now that's equity that you accrued just by being in the home a year, and other new construction being built up around you. So y'all, equity can literally give you your dream home. Sometimes you just have to maybe just start out small. Like, your first home is never going to be your dream home. It can be, but it may not be your dream home. But you can always work your way up, the same way we work from real estate agents to brokers. You know, the way we work up from students to teachers. It's possible. So new
So
construction's
like,
the way to go, y'all.
so I'm like, that's what I tell people too. Like you were just mentioning, as far as when you go into a new construction neighborhood, if it says like, just say the sign is going up and it says starting in the like mid 200,000s or whatever, and maybe after them selling the first, let's say 10 homes, and then it goes up. So it's like, if you are interested in getting new construction, don't just sit around and just be like, well, I'm just going to wait because the new construction, it goes, like you said, it goes up. And then maybe at the end of the lifetime of the new construction, maybe one home is left, it'll go down, but it's not going to go all the way back where, maybe.
I mean, my model home didn't go down. We didn't drop our model home in price. I mean, a lot of people come to me and they be like, this home gonna be the cheapest, right? I'm like, do you really think that we're gonna sell all these homes out here for $460, and the next home after that was $465, and the one after that was $470, and think we're gonna come here and sell it for $330?
Yeah.
We're just not gonna do it. Like, we may drop it like 10,000, but it ain't gonna be what people dream, like,
But I'm like, I feel like that's what the mindset is, where people, everyone, of course, as people, we always want to try to find a quote unquote bargain, right? But we got to realize where the bargain lies. Like, and traditionally, typically, like I tell people, like, let's just equate it to an analogy based on like CDs, right? When a CD comes out, I know people don't buy them like that no more, but back in my day, when CDs came out, they would traditionally be cheaper when they first came out. And then once the week or two was over, it went up to the average price. So it might come out be $9.99, but then if you waited past those 2 weeks, it'll be $19.99.
Yeah.
Like, you buy it in the beginning when it's cheaper. They're offering those incentives per se, because they want to get people in there to buy. That's why it's usually at that level. But most people sitting there like, well, I'm gonna wait and see if it's a discount. It's like, traditionally, you probably won't get a discount. You won't get a discount.
Yeah, you don't get it. Yeah, no. Like, today's price isn't yesterday's price, and or yesterday's price, whatever Moneybag Yo said. But I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, that's real. Like, same with Black Friday, right? If you miss out on any Black Friday deal, that same opportunity isn't going to be available for you the very next day, right? And that could just even, like, that could go down to being as specific as, now this floor plan is no longer available because, and I never rush people into decisions, right? And I feel like sometimes experience is the best teacher, with anybody just going through the process themselves. Like, I've been working with this lady since last year when I showed her in Hampton. She ghosted me, right? But she came back a year later, and unfortunately the prices were more expensive, and thankfully she was able to afford it. When I say high, I mean, we're talking about a $40,000 difference in a year. Wow. She could have had that same house a year ago today for $40,000 less. But I'm saying that to say, she went through it and she experienced, and she would literally hawk our website, and she said, well, I did see the price go up, so I decided to actually make the effort to go through this process and actually work on my credit. It's not like nobody gave her a guideline. She had it. It's just just taking those first steps and just taking the initiative. And I feel like sometimes maybe buyers do have to go through that experience of watching the house, increase to understand, like, okay, I do need to get on it. Like, oh, people are buying. Like, oh, these incentives are real. Like, oh, I can do it, you know? And you just gotta kind of experience, get down there in dirt and maybe get your feet wet, but get bit by a little fish while you're down there.
I'm like, I know Keith put another question in the
Yeah,
chat.
talk to
But
me, Key. I
before
love
we
your
get
questions.
that question, I remember we had a discussion in regards to how your contracts are different from the realtor's a traditional guard form or whatever.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about like the difference, because I think some people don't realize that when they buy new construction that
Mm-hmm.
a different contract.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced it even with agents, right? Like sometimes they'll say, "Well, I'll send you the offer." I'm like, "Well, I mean, you can send it, but technically, I'll read over and I'll just, send the offer to the builder. But unfortunately, anything that we receive and send out to you and your buyer to sign is going to be on our contracts. Every builder contract is different, and it does have to speak to the same way that you have to have descriptions, and the same way that we talked about Britta, the same, in you all's contracts, but ours is a little bit different because it is we have to disclose differently because we use designated attorneys, right? Sometimes builders have their own lenders, so we have to disclose maybe what those fees are or just who we're simply working with. Um, Also, there may be some disclosures. There are, like, we even talking about how we collect more money if you use other lenders outside of what's in this paragraph. We charge more, like we kind of talked about earlier. There's a little grace when you use our preferred lenders. When you use outside lenders and you go past that contract close date, that $150 per diem includes the weekends. You know what I'm saying? So if you were supposed to close on Friday and you close on Monday and you think you're only getting charged for Monday, no, you got charged for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Oh wow.
But I'm saying that to say, whenever I encounter an agent, one of those first items that you receive, just thanking you for coming out there, and you have serious interest in your buyer moving forward, or I'm gonna send you a sample of that contract. Part of my process too, I may not go over each line item, but I will comb through like the important parts or highlight the important parts of our contract that I feel like are, you should know. That per diem is one that I stress about, and just reiterating, going over any items that you've selected for your home. But yes, every builder usually has their own contracts that are separate than what the everyday real estate agent would use.
And
And
so
yeah,
I have another question, and then I'm gonna give
talk to
Keith a
me.
question. And I know we're kind of getting close to the time, so if you don't
Yeah.
mind staying a little bit longer, just so we can finish these
Yes.
up. But again, you guys just joined in. My name is Devon Clark. I'm here with Raven Hiram, and she is talking new construction. She is a
Yeah.
realtor that is licensed in Georgia and in Alabama. So if you're looking for somebody outside the state and that's in Alabama, if you're in Alabama, reach out to her. So my question to you in regards to the contract, traditionally when we go as a realtor and make an offer per se, and our client puts the earnest money down, they get a certain amount of time. We usually put on a contract a certain amount of time for the due diligence period. So how does that
Right.
work when it comes to someone with a new construction? Is it similar? Do we get the same amount, or do you guys set the time? How does that work?
So it's changed a little bit. The process has changed a little bit now that we have gone from standing inventory to build from dirt inventory, in regards to the due diligence process. So, in regards to, that it is a lot different than, I will say, with resale. Traditionally, let me back up. With me, I will speak for myself and my process. Um, Before you even reserve, so we streamline in regards to how you reserve your home or how you take the home off the market. We technically do not have to collect a check, a physical check, or anything to that extent, money order or anything. It doesn't have to be wired. If as long as you're using our preferred lenders, we can simply take the 500 or to 2,500 earnest money, or what we call builder's deposit, just through our website. So we've streamed our builder deposit through the website. Any lots that we have available to sell, we've already had a discussion prior to you reserving the lot, but it's streamlined on our website, and the lot is associated with the earnest money. But being that to say, Devon, you come to my community with a promising buyer, and they're truly interested. You want to take advantage of the incentive, so I'm going to push, hey, look, use our preferred lenders. We got $10,000 in a fixed rate that's below market. Before you reserve this lot, I will recommend, like, let's just getting the pre-qual letter first, just to ensure the buying power for the floor plan that we've picked out today, right? Because we don't want to double back. And this kind of cuts down on any confusion, any reimbursements we have to make, just worst case scenario. So with me, we're going to get the pre-qual letter first, and then we're going to go and reserve the lot. And I only say that because when you reserve the lot on our website, it holds it on your account. It's a hold, and it's for 7 days. Once that 7 days is up, if a contract has not been signed, it is reverted back into your account. If a contract has been signed, we take that hold off of your account, and we physically, we'll debit that earnest money from your account, or debit that earnest money from your account at that point. And then we're able to kind of move forward. And this kind of goes back to just understanding your purchasing power. Let's say you fell in love with the 375, but let's say the lender says you can only afford 350. Now we have to revisit, because what if the floor plan that you selected no longer fits this lot that you actually can purchase, that your buying power is saying that you can purchase? Now we have to pick another lot. Sometimes we may have to pick new finishes based on how the house is laid out in your lifestyle. There's a lot of other things that we have to revisit or talk about a little bit more. So that's a little bit kind of streamlining the earnest money in that process. But once you're under contract, we really say, contract says 10 days. I would say immediately. Once that contract is executed, you have up to like 10 days to submit all your documents to the loan officer. Once all those documents are given and the loan officer has reviewed them, and you've gone through kind of like that first phase of underwriting, then we'll release the house. When I say release the house, we'll then start ordering the material. Because why would we order material if you can't even get simple documents over to the loan officer? And keep in mind, when we're ordering material, like, all this comes out of our pocket up front. All the money comes out of the builder's pocket up front until the end of the day. And this what kind of goes back to why we don't want to build a house for it to sit on the market longer than it needs to be. We're building this house specifically for this buyer. And we want to know that this specific buyer is going to do what it takes, to get the loan to purchase this house. Everybody wants to get to that contract or that close date that's on that contract. So saying that to say, within that 10 days, let's just say we find out you don't qualify, right? See, that's the person using the preferred lender. If the lender goes through those first 10 days, granted, it's the builder's discretion. However, they may see that you're more likely to get your earnest money back then, rather than going with the outside lender. You still require within those 10 days to get those documents up, but it may be looked at less likely on the builder's end to give you back your earnest money.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to get to keys. She said, how did you become so passionate? You've been great. Thanks for being on, and thanks, Devon, for the great content. Of course. Thanks. So how did you become
so when I first sold new homes, the process was totally different than anyone had traditionally purchased a home. And it was new for, I think, just market wise, like just in regards to new homes. Nobody had done that before. Um, and it was a really, 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 really affordable price point. Like I was selling townhomes for like 110. And right, like 110. By the time I ended, it was like 130.
Oh
And
wow.
you get what I'm saying? So I'm saying that to say, within that price point, obviously that was a first time home buyers market. And my daddy told me two things when I got into this business. First, he told me don't mess up his reputation. Number two, he asked me a question. He said, "Do you know what real estate's about?" And I went to class and everything, and I said, "Yeah, math." And he was like, "No, like real estate is about people." And I think like once I understood, people, I think that's truly like where the passion came in, because you have to understand like this is everybody's first rodeo. Sometimes everybody may not have the best agent, right? Sometimes there may be delays, even on the builder's end, and just understanding people, right? Like I get it's a business, but at the end of the day, you have to understand like this is people's livelihoods. And I would just have and I was never afforded the opportunity to meet a lot of these people in person. So just the connections that I built just through a telephone or through a computer, like I was like, oh, like I'm changing lives. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a at days I was a counselor, some days, like I'm bending over backwards for people I haven't met just to help people's dreams come true. And when I realized like I was doing something major, I felt like like the world needed me. I feel like a superhero. And I think just realizing that I was touching so many people, I was assisting people, I was literally hand holding, just people through this process. I think that's just where my passion came from, just realizing what real estate's about. Like it's not always about the dollar amount, but just realizing that you're helping people create wealth, but to get into a different scenario that maybe they never thought they could afford to be in.
And that's how I like similar to what you said as far as helping people. That's how I look at real estate. I
Yeah,
know people say it's a sales field or whatever, but I look at it similar.
yeah,
Like I look at it as far as helping people outside of
yeah,
helping my friend that traditionally I told you before she fell into it by way of her mom's house and then invested
yeah,
in things. But when you sit back and you really look at it, and when I dived into it, when I came into Georgia and got my license down here, I realized that I want to help people that look not only like me, but people that might be economically impacted like me, right?
yeah,
I didn't come from the, all the money and everything or whatever, but I still
yeah,
want people to know that there is power as far as if you purchase real estate and and just knowing how it can grow and how it can possibly change your life through like,
mm-hmm.
real estate. But like you said, it is a people's business. And sometimes I get myself caught up in that because I am a talker. I like to run my mouth.
Yeah.
you know, I'm like, and I am a helper too. Like I want to help people, but like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you have to understand everybody is somewhere differently in their life. They're going through different things, and
Yeah.
if you don't listen to what they're saying, you will miss everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes people will get on the path that will come into this real estate environment to just sell, 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 and they're not
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful that there's someone in the field like you, that wants to help people because this is about helping, and this is one of the biggest
Yeah.
purchases a person will ever make in their whole life,
Man,
especially
what? Yes.
as far as how prices have gone so high due to the pandemic. So this is one of the biggest purchases someone will ever make, and so we want to
Yeah.
make sure you handle it with care and you make sure it's done correctly.
Yeah.
So, but on that note, I did have one more question before we left.
Okay.
We were gonna talk about the taxes. I'm like, I keep telling you, I'm like, I'm next.
Okay.
We did. I'm like, I'm
Go,
like, I feel like
I got
I,
you. I got you.
I know. I feel like we because we dived off, and thanks to everybody that joined us tonight. I appreciate you guys for coming in the comments, asking questions. I appreciate Key, James. I had other Jaren, other couple people, and hopefully people that will watch this video back. Remember, you can always put questions in the comments too as well. And but two more questions.
Yes.
And then, so the one was about taxes. So like I was saying earlier, I know that you're not a tax assessor, so
Yeah.
it's going it's going to be estimated. You guys got to realize we're realtors. We're not lawyers. We're not legal people. We're just saying because based off of our experience and being around it, we can kind of give our opinion or suggestion on it, but we cannot tell you the true value or anything of it because that's people get paid to do that stuff. But as far as when it comes to taxes on new construction, when I go on my MLS, sometimes I'll see a new construction property there, and then I'll see next to taxes it'll say $1 because typically you don't know the tax value on something that's not built. So how do you guys kind of sometimes when you sit down with a new client that's buying a house, and if they ask that question, how do you guys go about like giving them an estimate?
Yeah. What I found out is going into these new homes, it's best for me to have that conversation with the loan officer ahead of time. So, hey, I'm gonna give you an address, maybe give you the neighborhood behind me, give you the neighborhood, just give me some inkling of what I can expect or the expectation that I could set, for the buyer. Sometimes they're able to pull it up, like the lender, they're able to kind of pull it up in their system. At times, depending on where you are in construction, like you said, I've been there a year. So, after I've done kind of like that full year there, we'll be able to assess the taxes a little bit differently going into the kind of like that first year of building. We'll be able to get a more accurate estimate of what taxes are. But like I said, just depending on the even area or zip code, some lenders are able to give you a rough estimate as to what those estimated taxes will be. But sometimes you may not know until, that title binder and all that stuff has been completed between your loan officer and the closing attorney. So at times you may not find out until a little bit closer to closing.
Okay. Because I know I was going. So I was talking about this question just because no one asked me this. However, a buyer client that I worked with, we're friends on TikTok. So literally, she sends me everything about real estate on TikTok. Sent me a video about this young lady who had just purchased a home in regards to she didn't realize that her property taxes could go up. And so that's why I was like, oh, that might be a great question to ask in regards to new construction because typically when you see the MLS, it'll say $1. So that's why I was like, question.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, going off maybe neighborhoods that are within the same area, just consider zip codes, school districts, things to that extent, like when you're trying to do that research to give the buyers a good accurate, because we know that's one thing that's going to fluctuate your insurance and your taxes like that. Like your mortgage may be the same, but within your mortgage those two items are going to fluctuate. So we do want to prepare our buyers like, hey, this is the potential where your taxes may be, but hey, that's kind of the good thing about equity. Like, if your taxes are going up, it does show that your area, is favorable and that people are moving there. But you do kind of reap, the higher taxes in the end. But yeah, just as realtors kind of doing our research within the maybe circumference or the radius of that new construction will kind of give your buyer a good idea of where taxes may stand, or just talking to maybe the preferred lender, because sometimes the preferred lender has a little bit more information just based on if the back end, maybe the loan was done with that loan officer, they got a little bit more information for us. Yeah.
So that's a good thing to know. So if you guys are watching this video and you had a question about the taxes, that's a good thing to know. And then let me see. I'm right here looking at my my phone, but I think we answered. Oh, the last thing was about the inspection process. So when someone typically what happens with new construction, what I've seen through my experience is that a person can go in and when it comes to inspection, they have like a blue tape inspection thing where they'll go in, they'll put the tape up on like different nicks or whatever in the home that needs to maybe be painted again or something that needs door maybe not working correctly or I don't know. But how do you guys go about like your inspection process when it comes to a person coming inside to inspect the home prior to solidifying the deal?
Yeah. So I'll just talk about the whole process as a whole. So just really quick, and I promise I'm gonna keep it as short as possible. So when it comes to new construction, when it comes to resales, you only have one option for an inspection or two. right? You have the appraisal, and then you have a private home inspection. The appraisal is something that's required by the loan. A private inspection is a personal a preference, right? That's something that you have to pay out of pocket for, and it's not a requirement by the loan or the mortgage company. Saying that to say, when it comes to new construction, when we're building the home, we have our own inspections that, well, every builder has to go through within the municipality. First and foremost, we, kind of going back to those covenants and bylaws, there's restrictions in place if the builder did not create that CMA, right? There's restrictions in place that says, hey, like there has to be sidewalks, there has to be street lights, there maybe has to be brick on a certain percentage of the homes, the houses have to sit this far back. So there's requirements for builders when they go into these developments that we have to abide by, first and foremost. Second, as we build, in each stage up to drywall, there are inspections that are required for us to move on to the next phase. When we clear the lot, a lot of people see what we call the box, we have to have an inspection for that. I just had one that didn't pass. Guess what? We had to move the foundation of the house over before we could go to the next stage. Once we pour the foundation, we have to have an inspection. When we do the slab plumbing, like there's inspections at each stage, like I said, required by the municipality. Now, we talked about private home inspections that the buyer pays for out of their pocket. They have two opportunities to pay for any out-of-pocket inspections when it comes to new construction. A lot of realtors will recommend to do an inspection, whether it's a resale or new homes. I will throw my personal preference out there. I do believe in private home inspections. If you're looking to do a inspection, I would recommend just a pre-drywall, right? That allows you the opportunity to see everything that's behind the walls. If you're going to do an inspection, pre-drywall, I do feel like it's a little bit more important than the finishing one. But I'm saying that to say you can do a pre-drywall inspection where you can see everything behind the walls. Once the house is finished, then that's when you would usually do make kind of what you were explaining, like that blue tape. So what happens is once the house is completed, for Liberty Communities, we have 3 processes essentially that involves all parties. Okay. Number 1, we have to work with the municipality to receive a certificate of occupancy. A certificate of occupancy basically says the municipality has come out and deemed this home livable with all the home is completed with the appliances, HVAC unit, AC unit. Somebody can live in this house, and I'm saying it's okay. Is what the city is saying. Number 2, Liberty Communities, our process is a little bit different than your traditional blue tape. We have a quality assurance team. With our quality assurance team, once that home is completed, our team comes in and makes sure that our home is of a certain standard, Liberty Community standards, outside of the inspection that the city already gave us. And then if you decide to do maybe that private home inspection, at this stage, this is when you want to do that private home inspection when that home is completed and when we're also doing our QA. If you're deciding to do that private home inspection, this is usually when you want to do like that blue tape because the home, it may not have that final cling to it, right? But it's done. Usually anything in our QA department it could say like, hey, it needs some more caulk right there. Hey, I don't like the way this vent looks there. I think this needs to be replaced, or that door looks a little crooked, like that needs to be addressed. Those are the things that we kind of point out during our QA process. I recommend doing that private home inspection prior to, simply so you're walking through with your blue tape, you're walking through with your private home inspection, and you're walking through with that representative to point out any concerns that he may see. So now the builder has one list, not 3, 4, 5. He has literally one list that he's working off of where he can get those items addressed. And we do that final walk, not even the day of closing. We do it the day before closing. So that day of closing, you wake up, you know your house is done. You checked on it the day before. You're just going to closing. Maybe you want to do brunch before you go to closing. Like, you have ample opportunity to do that. So you're not worried about if your home is up to par the day of and then rushing to closing. Let's say the home wasn't up to par, right? Like, oh, that painter forgot to address, that trim work there. Now you're going to closing, like, oh my gosh, this is going to get done. Now I got to come back to the house before I go to, like, we try to, we don't want you to come into a house and see defects. So that's why we have our quality assurance team, to ensure our home is of a certain standard before you even really set foot into it. Whether it shouldn't look like blue polka dotted, it shouldn't look like a blue polka dot house. So usually that takes place with 7 to 10 days, the blue tape process or the quality assurance. So we have enough time to get those vendors out there and to get any items addressed. And then you'll come back for that final walkthrough the day before closing. So the day of closing is smooth sailing.
So hopefully everybody heard that in regards to an inspection process when it comes to buying new construction. And I like how you said like the pre-drywall thing, because I was going to talk about that particular part of the inspection too.
Yeah.
And having an opportunity where they can come in and inspect. So pre-drywall, typically before the drywall goes up in the house, outside the framing, you can see what's behind the walls, like you said, the electrical, every blah, blah, blah. To see what's going on in the walls, and you don't get that luxury when you buy a resale. You don't get to you don't bop the walls down and you can't in between the walls. So that is a luxury that you get inside when you're able to do new construction. And if you but I know some people might not realize that, and some people that buy new construction might not realize they can come in during that time frame. So if you guys didn't hear Raven, you can that you can go in during that time frame and check that out as far as your inspection process.
Yep.
But so I put your information down here.
Yes.
Right. If you guys want to connect with Raven on Instagram, it is Have a Rave Day. Am I saying that? Is it Rave Day?
Yes, it's Ray. Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all see how I did that, right?
I know, I like it.
Thank you.
No problem. So I thank you for joining us today. In regards to new construction, is there anything else you want to tell people before we jump off of here? Anywhere else they can find you, things like that?
Yes. So you can find me on Facebook, Raven Hiram. You can find me on Instagram, Raven Hiram. My tagline is what you youngins say these days is have a Ray Day. I also have a LinkedIn, and I don't have a YouTube or anything to that extent, but you guys follow me on your main social media platforms, and please reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. You can, my email and direct telephone number is also in my Facebook and Instagram page. So if you have any questions about new homes, even if it's not Liberty Communities, I'm happy to guide you guys in any way, shape, or form.
All right. So again, if you guys want to connect with her, you can reach out to her. Her name is Raven Hiram.
Yes.
Right. I said it right. I always feel like I'll be
saying
I know.
But a lot of people say Haram. Yeah, but I think it's like maybe a little foreign. When people say Haram, I know a lot of people are maybe used to pronunciating it that way, maybe like Middle Eastern. I kind of get that, but it's Hiram, like the city in Georgia.
Okay. So you guys can reach out to her on all those platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we'll find all her information, including the phone number, if you guys want to reach out to her. And again, if you are just joining us now and you hadn't had the opportunity to answer any questions, we are coming to a close. However, you can put those questions below in the comments, and trust me, I will make sure Raven answers the questions. But she's busy selling those new construction, but I'll definitely make sure to send them over to her, and you guys can have that chat, or you can reach out to her via the Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, and you can call her hopefully directly or email her directly, and you can have those discussions with her if you just have more around new construction.
Yes.
So thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you for the invite.
No problem. And thank you guys for joining us as well. Whoever came inside the comments and asked questions, we appreciate you guys. And until next time, have a wonderful day. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.